Welcome to this live training. We're going to be looking at, how one of the recruitment and search business owners that we work with, gentleman by the name of Dan Smith, based in Australia, books 45 plus meetings with hiring managers every single month, using just LinkedIn, spending about 60 minutes per day on the platform. Again, this is something that's working really well for him, but it's working well for a lot of our clients as well. They're able to book meetings with hiring managers in their market on LinkedIn with just no more than 60 minutes per day. We're going to walk you through the results that Dan Smith is getting and also show you, how you can duplicate or get the same results in your business as well. Before we dive into that, again, I think Dan joined our program in 2021, was it, Terry?
Yeah.
Can you sort of, for everyone listening in, paint a picture of where his business was when he first joined and what some of the challenges he was facing at the time?
Yeah, so if you think 2021 were probably, just at the beginning of 2021, so we just had about 9 months of the pandemic. Dan Smith's based in Australia, in Brisbane, Australia. He was relying on his network, as most recruiters do, and I think it's great when you can do that, but he's relying on his network to get business. He was a solo recruiter. He's been in business for about 3 or 4 years. What he found was one of the challenges he had was that his network was shrinking. So he's been in recruitment 14 years, but he was aware that his network was shrinking. He was doing most of his meetings face to face. That was proving a bit of a challenge, you can imagine, with the lockdown and everything else. And he was averaging about 3 to 4 meetings a month, consistently every month. Here's something that we know for sure. The more meetings you have with interested hiring managers, the more business you'll win. It's a kind of makes sense, really. So in a year, Dan would expect to do about 50 meetings a year with the hiring managers. And in terms of revenue, he was doing about 150,000 a year as a solo recruiter. So he thought it was okay, but nothing more than okay. Bring right up to date. Last month, I think he did 48 meetings last month. And he's looking to do just under $1 million as a solo recruiter over a 12-month period. So from 120 to 150 a year, he will sometimes invoice that in 1 month now. He doesn't cold call, ever cold call. In fact, we teased Dan because he doesn't pick up the phone, actually. But anyway, that's another story that we're going to. He's a keen cyclist, so the other thing that we tease him about, he literally only works part-time because he's a keen cyclist. So he goes cycling every day because he just gives that priority.
This is for you. So if you're a recruitment or search business owner, listen to this now. This is for you. If any of what Terry said about when Dan's situation was, it sounds familiar to you. You're in a place now where you've got inconsistent revenue in your business. So you've got some clients, you work with some clients, but you haven't yet found a way to bring in consistent clients into your business. Again, this case study we're going to show you now is going to reveal how we do this for Dan and lots of our clients as well. Help them effectively get more meetings with interested hiring managers in the market. All things being equal, like one of the key philosophies that we teach, all things being equal, if you could have more meetings with interested hiring managers, more opportunities, you would make more sales, right? So we're going to walk you through how you can do that with LinkedIn. As Terry said, Dan chooses not to cold call because although he does well revenue wise, a lot of what he prioritizes in his business is freedom, right? He doesn't really like cold calling. But if you're one of the recruiters that do like cold calling, you like making outbound calls, again, it's not something that needs to replace your cold calling. You can use it alongside your outbound calls to get even better results as well. Just to, I guess, set the scene, just in terms of proof, Terry sort of painted a good picture of where Dan was when he first started. So joined our program in February 2021. Again, by August. So we call meetings triage calls, right? So what triage call is basically a 15-minute call with the hiring manager in his market where Dan will basically qualify them as to whether or not he wants to work with them. If they qualify, he'll take them to a sales call and then obviously, ideally convert them into an assignment. He works completely retained, so he gets paid for every single job order he works, right? But again, joining in Feb, by May, he's booking 9 calls a month, June 19, July 43, and then August, he got 4 in just 2 days at the time of that posting that. Again, off the back of that, he was getting obviously more clients, more revenue coming into his business. You can see in this screenshot here. He bought 45 calls in February. That's his February this year. Again, just using LinkedIn, not picking up the phone, not doing anything else. And again, one of his biggest lessons was consistency, is right. So he's doing these activities we're going to show you today consistently. But all that to say that, I'm not going to sit here and say you can get the exact same results. We've got lots of our clients using the same strategies to book more meetings. Dan's doing the best, right, in terms of meetings, right? He's booking the most out of all of our clients. But comfortably, on average, you should be able to book 30 meetings, 30 additional meetings a month with interested hiring managers in your market, right? So if that's useful to you, then again, this is going to be for you. Again, as Terry said, we're going to be going about 50 minutes. We'll have time for Q&A at the end. We're not going to cover sort of the technical aspects of LinkedIn, right? So if you don't know how to use the LinkedIn platform already, this isn't really going to be for you. We're going to give you a bird's eye view of the process in terms of, the strategy that Dan uses, a bird's eye view of the messages he uses as well. But for any of you that find what we covered today useful and want to know more, two things we're going to give to you, right? One is we've made some time in our calendars to sort of customize this process for your business, and so you can plug it into your business and ideally get the same results. Secondly, a few months ago, we done an interview with Dan where he walks through his exact process, tells the messages he uses, the scripts he uses, the sequence, everything, all the detail that we're not going to have time to cover today, he goes over. Again, we will give you access to that recording at the end of this as well. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just I think a really important point. You probably gathered from Dan's messages. Dan recruits at C-level, so he's booking meetings with predominantly CEOs or board level HR professionals. So that's the level that he's operated at. So it is at C-level, and he's based in Brisbane, Australia. He was only working locally in the sort of Brisbane area. Now he covers all of Australia and parts of Asia as well, because he can now. He's not a case of meeting people for coffee as he was before. Drew, over to you. Let's go.
So just to again make sure we're all on the same page in terms of the process that Dan's following, a process that really any recruiter should be following when it comes to marketing, but especially when it comes to LinkedIn, right? On a basic level, right? All of your business development activities is to get people into, all your marketing is to get people into your sales process, right? So we've got marketing over here, and the job of marketing is to move people across into your sales process, right? As a recruiter who's got a business model the same as most other recruiters, your sales process is going to be a meeting of some sort. It's going to be a phone call, face-to-face meeting, or Zoom meeting, whatever it is going to be, right? So your marketing is there. So any activity you do on LinkedIn, any marketing you do on LinkedIn, the end goal should be to get a meeting of some sort with a decision maker in your market, right? Again, so I want to check in, does that make sense? First of all, give me a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you've mentioned, but just to reiterate, that Dan only does retainers. So he's getting meetings with CEOs. He gets paid up front for any work that he does. So this isn't a case of talking to somebody and them saying, oh, yeah, if you know anybody, send over their resumes or CVs. He's getting clients to pay him at least a third of the fee up front. So part of one of the things that we advocate is that you always get paid for the work that you do. Always get paid for the work that you do as well. And in terms of figures, Dan's probably, 2 placements a month is what he's doing to get to 100, between 80 and 120,000 a month. So he's winning on average 2 retainers a month, every month. So working probably less than most contingent recruiters and earning more. So I talked to a guy just earlier. He's doing 3 placements a month, every month, all on contingency. He's getting 10 job orders a month and he's putting 3 of them. Dan's getting 2 job orders. He always gets paid for them. That's the difference.
So there's 3 basic pillars that Dan follows, right? And that we recommend that you follow as well. So number 1 is audience, 2 is authority, and 3 is opportunity, right? So what we want to do is we want to build an audience of your ideal prospects on LinkedIn. We want to build authority with those people. And then we want to find out, from those people that we connected with, that we're building authority with, who there has a need for the services that we offer, right? So who there has a vacancy or has a vacancy coming up that we can work on, right? So if we do these 3 things every day, that's how we were able to, consistently plug this into your business development and get, 45 to 50 meetings per month with hiring managers, right? So I'm going to sort of break down each one to, again, give you the bird's eye view of what Dan does at each stage, right? So first of all, if we look at the top one, audience, right? What we need you to get clear on is, what we call your ICP, right? Stands for ideal client profile. One of the mistakes that Dan was making before we joined our program, one of the mistakes that we see recruitment and search business owners make is I think the first one is they're not clear on who their ideal client is, right? They know what market they operate in most of the time. Sometimes they don't really have a market and they're a bit sort of haphazard with who they target. They work on any job order they can get. Or maybe they know what their market is, but they're not sure about who the decision maker is in those types of companies, or maybe they're even connecting with candidates, right? So they spend the majority of their time connecting with candidates rather than going after clients, right? What Dan sort of shifted when he started working with us is he got very, very clear on his ideal client profile, right? So that's not just the market they're in, but the characteristics, where they're based, but more importantly, like who it is, because he works all retained, right? He doesn't want to deal with any contingency assignments, doesn't want to work with hiring managers who want to farm the job out to multiple recruiters. He wanted people who valued what he did, were willing to use him exclusively, and willing to pay up front for that privilege, right? And again, I'm a big fan of retained recruitment. I'm a big fan of exclusive recruitment, but I also understand that not every client that you speak to is going to be a fit for them, right? So we need to get clear on who the ideal client profile is. Who is most likely to want to use you, on an exclusive basis, retained basis, pay you upfront for the privilege, right? And again, that's for Dan. If you're happy to contingency, that your ideal client profile might be different, but we need to get clear on what that is, and then have a strategy to find them on LinkedIn. Again, the LinkedIn search feature is quite simple, quite straightforward. And then every day we want to connect with those people. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so if you imagine that you're a butcher and you're selling the finest steaks, these are the best steaks in the world, and your audience are all vegetarian. Kind of see what's happening there. You're not going to get any business whatsoever because you're offering something to the wrong audience. Now, Dan's very clear about who his audience is. It's C-level. By the way, Dan won't go for the likes of Google or Microsoft. He doesn't go there. He acknowledges he's a boutique search firm, so he probably comes a bit further down. He has to speak to the CEO, so that's who he targets. He gets crystal clear, right, who's targeting. Drew made a really good point, and I was guilty of this when I had my recruitment business. At first, you kind of hustling for the deal, any way you can get a deal. Oh, you're looking for somebody at 40,000. Yeah, we can do that. Hey, we're looking for somebody at 140,000. Yeah, we can do that. And it's almost this. I'll just get the deal. Let's get the money in. Let's get the deal in. What we find is the most, and by the way, we'll talk about Dan a lot here because we've got the video on Dan. All our clients use this method, by the way. What we're talking about our clients, they're very, very clear about who their ideal clients is. And they're not hustling for the deal. They say, this is who we'll work with. And by the way, they also acknowledge they're not there to serve everybody. So there are certain clients that they will refuse to work with. Now, by the way, Dan's fees, 28%. There's no room for negotiate on that. So the 28%, you qualify to work with me on a retained basis, or you just don't qualify. Back to you, Drew.
Awesome. So on audience, we want to get clear on who your ideal client profile is. We want to invite those people. And also we want to make sure that your profile is optimized to attract those people, right? So again, one of the mistakes that people make on LinkedIn is that they sort of structure it like a CV or resume, and it's positioned as almost like a job finding tool, right? And again, obviously, that's, as recruiters, that's the way we find a lot of our candidates, right? But what we want to shift from is, rather than seeing it as a resume, is using it as a marketing tool. So everything in Dan's profile speaks to his ideal client. So not only is he clear on who they are, when he invites them, obviously the first thing when you get an invite on LinkedIn is you check out the person's profile, right? So, and he makes sure that everything he's got on his profile is aimed at the problems that he solves for those people, right? So again, immediately he stands out from most of his competitors who are only talking about themselves, or even their profiles designed to attract candidates, right? He's not interested in attracting candidates at this level. He just wants to make sure that his position to attract his ideal clients. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no on the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so your profile's got to be engaging the potential client. So it's not about you. We've been in business 10 years. Our mission statement is this. We've got a very large database. Your potential client doesn't care about that. They want to understand how you can help solve their problem. That's all they want. So it's so tempting to talk all about yourself. And here's the assignments that we've worked on. Client doesn't care. Because that's all about you. So there's some very specific language you can use in your LinkedIn profile to make you appealing to the right audience.
So audience is a relatively simple bit, right? Again, we're just effectively sending invites to our ideal clients, making sure our profile is structured in the right way. Again, just a point on that is we want to make sure we're maximizing the volume of invites we send out, right? And we're looking for actual profile in addition to posts and content, right? At this moment, I'm just talking about the profile itself, right? And so we want to be reaching out to those people, make sure they accept. We're looking for, again, like around a 30 to 40% acceptance rate at this stage, right? So if we invite 10 people, we get 3 to 4 accepts, right? That's a sign of a good profile, a good sign that we've got the ICP right. Once we've got that right, again, the next thing that we worked on with Dan and working with all our clients is the authority piece, right? So for someone to book a call with you, for them to buy from you, especially, you know, if they're going to sort of trust you with a key vacancy in their business or their department, they need to be able to trust that you can deliver the results, right? And again, they need to believe that before they hand over money. But in a lot of cases, again, especially especially if you're in more competitive niches, they're going to need that authority before they even book a call, right? Because I've got you on their LinkedIn and I've got 10, 20 other recruiters effectively saying the same thing. That they're saying, hey, you know, Mr. Hiring Manager, we can solve your problem, right? So we need to find a way to set ourselves above those people. So your ideal clients are going to listen to you rather than your competitors. Again, it's just especially important if you're doing retained or exclusive, but, you know, again, equally important if you're doing, you know, contingency as well, because you don't want to be working on job orders where you're competing against 5, 10 other recruiters, and, you know, the majority of job orders that you work on, you don't get paid, right? So if we want to stop that, if you're sick and tired of working on job orders and not getting paid, we need to build authority before we connect with the hiring manager, right? Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just quickly on this. Think about it from the hiring manager point of view. The hiring manager on average gets 3 to 8 cold calls a day from recruiters. 3 to 8 cold calls a day. They can be getting as many as 100 cold calls a month, every month from recruiters, all saying the same thing, all promising the earth. Think of it from Dan's point of view. His average fee is, I think it's 42,000. Do you think, unless you've got the authority, somebody's going to pay or engage you and pay a third of 42,000 upfront unless you've got the authority? If you're having problems right now, getting the fees that you want, a lot of it's to do with your authority. Because what the hiring manager is thinking, understandably, what if I engage with Emma here or Robert here or whoever, and they get it wrong? I just don't know. That conversation is always going on. So your authority must be shown before you have that conversation. So they're not questioning your authority at all. And it doesn't happen just in the moment you get on the call. A lot of this is happening before you actually have the conversation with them. Not getting the business that you want. One of the challenges, not getting the fees that you want, by the way. One of the reasons, it's just one of the reasons, is to do with your lack of perceived authority with that particular decision maker. Back to you, Drew.
Once you've got the audience part nailed, right, and you're consistently connecting with your ideal prospects on LinkedIn, the next piece is authority, right? And this is really can be split down into 2 key things we need to look at. One is connection. And what I mean by connection is, you know, imagine your ideal prospect, you invite them on LinkedIn, they probably received, 10, 20 invites that day. They accept yours because they look at your profile, right? The next hurdle we have to overcome is, how are we going to stand out to the other 5, 10 other recruiters, not even just recruiters, but other people that connected with them that day, right? So what Dan started to do is he started using what we call the 3-step process on LinkedIn, right? In order to set himself above 99% of people that connect with that prospect per day. So the first thing he does on the day that they accept the message, day that they accept the connection, he'll send them a message that says, hey, Emma, hey, David, hey, whatever their name is, thanks for connecting. My network is your network. Let me know if you need anything. Dan, right? And just signs off, right? So he's not trying to pitch to them, not trying to get in conversation necessarily. He's just literally introducing himself and saying, thanks for connecting, right? Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? And Terry,
just to confirm, step 1 is a connection. What we call the LinkedIn 3-step process. Step 1 is a connection. Step 2 is thanking them for connecting. Back to you, Drew, for step 3 of the 3-step process.
Send them thank you message. Send them thank you messages. About 3 to 7 days later, again, some of them will come back to him straight away, and then he's in instant dialogue. They'll say, again, thanks for connecting. Gene, do you want to ask, again, just to reiterate the 3-step process, right? Step 1 is to connect with them, right? So we've done that in step 1, right? They've now accepted your invite. Step 2 is on the day that they accept, he'll send them a message that says, hey, Gene, thanks for connecting. My network is your network. Let me know if you need anything, right? He's just saying thank you for the connection, right? And then the final step is between 3 to 7 days later, he'll make them an offer. And when I say offer, he'll offer them something as of value that will build authority with that particular prospect, right? So again, it depends on your market, what you use, but he'll have either a PDF or a video or an ebook or whatever that helps them solve the problem they're having, right? So let's say it's weird, I'm doing it, right? And I'm connecting with recruiters, right? I'll say, hey, Gene, thanks for connecting. Let me know if you need anything. My network is your network. And then 3 to 7 days later, I'll say, hey, Gene, last week I've recorded a case study video about how one of our clients puts 45 meetings with hiring managers per month. Would you like me to send you a free copy, right? So it's just value first. I'm not trying to sell. I'm giving the value that we've got, right? So depending on what market you're in, you could put a video together or a PDF together, 7 things that the top performing candidates are looking for, or 7 questions you must ask top performing candidates in the interview, or Terry, any other suggestions you can think of on that?
Yeah, 7 questions to ask an executive search firm before you engage them, as an example. Would you like a copy? So you're not selling yourself and what a great recruiter you are, but you're giving them something that can help solve their problem. By the way, it's also telling you if they request it, they have some interest. Example, 70 essential questions you must ask a recruiter before you engage them. See, nobody's going to request that unless they're thinking about engaging a recruiter at some stage. So that's the 3rd step, where you're going to give them something that's going to help solve their problem, but you're not selling, I'm a great recruiter, I've been in business 20 years.
So the clearer we get on the ICP, right, the clearer you get on your ideal client profile, you will have, and the more you know your market, you will know what challenges they're having, right? You should be able to name our top 3 or 4 things, 3 or 4 goals or challenges or objectives that client has, right? So we're effectively offering something that's going to help them with one or more of those objectives, right? So if it's to increase the revenue, if it's to increase profit, whatever, I've got this interview I did with this person, I've got this book, whatever, we're giving them something that's going to help them with their ideal objective. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense?
And please note how that's so different to how most recruiters interact with a hiring manager. Most recruiters connect. Hey, thanks for connecting, Mr. Hiring Manager or Mrs. Hiring Manager. I'm a recruiter in this particular niche. We've been in business 20 years. If you've got any recruitment needs, please let me know. How many times do you think the hiring manager's heard that or received a message like that? And then they get a message from Dan who says, hey, I've got this book that helps solve your problem. Oh, that's different.
Authority, we've got connection, right? So we're introducing ourselves, we're making sure we stand out. So actually that's the question. To be clear, will this be a video recording? The format of the value that we give doesn't really matter, right? So it could be, it could be a 1-page PDF with 7 tips to get in the outcome they want, whatever it is, right? It could be a video. I think we often use videos because we do these live workshops like this. So next month, any connections that I had that connect with me, I can say, hey, look, actually last month I recorded a video about XYZ. Would you like a copy, right? But it could be a PDF. We use PDFs a lot. We use surveys that we do of the market. We'll give that as information, or it's anything that they can take value from. The format of it doesn't really matter. Whatever the best way, in whichever way you're comfortable delivering it is the way to do it, right? So if you're better at writing a PDF than doing a video, then do that. So on authority, we've got connection, and the next thing, again, someone mentioned it earlier, we've got content, right? So again, we're on the connection piece, we're making sure they know that we exist, right? That's the biggest problem you have right now, attracting clients and getting meetings. In a lot of cases, right, your ideal clients don't know that you exist, and they don't know that the value you can give them, right? We've already demonstrated that. They know that we exist because we've introduced ourselves. We also said, hey, look, we've got this piece of value that you might find interesting, right? The next thing is content, right? Because what we find is most of your ICP, most of your ideal client profile, they'll lurk, right? They don't necessarily engage with your content. They don't necessarily always speak to you straight away, but they'll look at your profile first of all. So we need to make sure that's on point, but then also look at your content you're posting as well. And the more the content we can post consistently, again, keyword consistently, that talks to their needs, talks to their challenges, the more authority you build, right? So what Dan does is, I think once or twice a day, he will post a piece of content that talks about the challenges that his ideal clients are having, right? Once or twice a day, every single day, does not miss. Right, and it's in the LinkedIn profile as well. And he also has recently started doing the LinkedIn newsletter as well, right? And because he knows that the more times his ideal client sees a piece of content where Dan's in some way demonstrating that he can solve the problem they have, the more authority he will build. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to emphasize that, to get deals up to the value of 30, 40, 50,000. In one of these cases, I don't know if you're going to cover it today, Drew, of 72,000, you got a fee of 72,000. A lot of the sales process happens before he actually meets the client. Are you going to cover that particular? Yeah, I'll just touch on it now. So that particular client where he got a deal worth 72,000, which was two roles, the meeting itself took 16 minutes. He said to the client, our fees are 28%, it's on a Zoom, and the client just gave a thumbs up and said, yeah, send me over the details and I'll get that signed off. Now, you might listen to that and go, wow, that's amazing. And crikey, I can't even get contingent business, when the client's not going to pay anything up front. but most of the sale was done prior to the meeting. So if you're giving good content, if you're offering something that's going to solve the problem, they're not questioning your credibility. Think about it. If you're going to buy a car or something of of that value, you're going to do your research first and know that whatever you're going to buy of substantial value is right for you. So this is all done prior to the meeting. It makes the meeting itself so much easier.
And again, just a point to add to that, like one of the, I guess, misconceptions people have about content or what makes content good is they look at the number of likes and comments they get. So if I get lots of likes, get lots of comments, oh, that must mean the content's good. What we're finding with most of our clients and with Dan is that actually the content, most of the people that reach out and book meetings aren't the ones liking and engaging with his content, right? And if you think about it, again, the best way I can logicalize it, if we're speaking to the challenges, wants and desires of your ideal clients, they're not necessarily going to engage with that content because they don't want their team to know and they don't want their competitors to know. Right. And often, sometimes the vacancy might be, the search might be something they want to do discreetly, right? So they're not going to engage in a piece of content that talks about that particular problem, right? So we can't be trying to look at likes and comments. We just need to, again, have our own sort of, make sure we know our ICP and make sure we're talking to their challenges, right? And we're not looking for likes and comments. We're just making sure that every content that we post is designed to help them solve their problem. Again, so I want to make sure that makes sense. Give me a yes or no in a chat box. That's an important point, right? I think a lot of pit time with content, people start posting content, they don't get the likes and comments they want, so they stop posting. I think it's not working, right? It's important to know that the measure of good content isn't the likes and comments that you get, is whether or not you're speaking to your ideal client profile. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, look, full disclosure here. If you think about where you are right now, you're in on this webinar, and what we're talking about, you're probably aware of the amount of content we put out there. Now, we say things like, would you like to win more clients at higher fees, as an example? Most recruiters aren't going to respond to that in public because they then know that all their competitors. So a lot of you guys wouldn't engage with our content, but we're not doing it for you to engage there and then. We're doing it for the authority. John has said here, yeah, very true. I don't engage online as I don't want to be bombarded by pushy salespeople. 100% accurate. Yeah. That's another good point, actually. If you show your interest there, oh crikey, this person's going to be reaching out to me. Even if you're desperate to have that problem solved, you're thinking, no, I'd rather do this discreetly. You'll probably reach out. If you're desperate, you'll like to reach out to that individual discreetly rather than publishing it on there to get bombarded by a load of other people offering the same thing. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to move on to the third piece, which is opportunity, right? Opportunity, what we call opportunity harvest, right? So we've got, imagine that you've got this process plugged into your business. What we have now is we have a LinkedIn profile where you're connecting with, lots of your ideal clients, lots of people that meet your ideal client profile. They know who you are because you've done a connection piece. They're seeing your content, they've got authority. What we need to do now is, if we want to get meetings with these people, we need to, harvest the opportunity that's there. So we need to know which of these people. We've got 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people in our network right now. We need to know which of those people have a need right now. Where are opportunities, right? And the way that you do this, or the way that Dan does this, is with questions. Right? Sounds simple, right? The only way to know for sure if someone has a need for what you do is to ask them, right? And they'll tell you yes or no, right? And they will tell you either verbally or they'll tell you with their behavior. So there's a few ways that we can do this and a few ways that you can look out for this. So number one is you can ask people questions in the messenger, right? So we've sent them, let's say, for example, we're connecting with someone, we sent them the thank you message, sent them a piece of value where they said, like, hey, look, we've got this thing. Then, imagine we followed up with that person, right? Imagine it was you, right? Imagine that we connected on LinkedIn tomorrow and I said, hey, Gene, Caleb, thanks for connecting. Let me know if you need anything. And then imagine like 7 days later, I said, hey, look, I've recorded this video that reveals how to grow your recruitment business. Would you like a free copy? Right. And you said yes. Right. So you already know who I am. I've led with value. Follow-up question to that would be, hey, Gene, I have a few more resources that could help you grow your recruitment business. Would you be interested? Right. If you say yes, that's now a lead. Right. And then I can simply say, okay, look, we could probably help with that. How about we jump on a quick call? Right. So again, to flip it to your business, if you connected with your ideal client, then you said, hey, Mr. Mrs. Hiring Manager, we've got this free report that reveals 10 things that your ideal candidates are looking for. They said, you know, yes, send me it through. And then you said, hey, just a quick question. Are you currently looking for candidates? And they said, yes. Obviously, you'd say, hey, look, let's jump on a quick call, right? It's very simple, right? So questions in their inbox is one way. And again, at the end of this, so you can get the exact questions that Dan's asking every single month to get these meetings. So questions in their inbox, questions in LinkedIn polls. So give me a yes or no in a chat box if you ever posted a LinkedIn poll. A bit of a mix, right? So you probably, if you haven't posted, right, you've probably seen them, right? What most people do, most recruiters and people outside this industry do with LinkedIn polls, they ask pointless questions because they're chasing engagement. They're chasing likes, they're chasing comments, they're chasing votes. So they'll say things like, hey, you know, what do we think about working from home? Or what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Right? They're questions that will get a lot of votes, but there's nothing really you can really do with that. What Dan does and what all of our clients do is they do what we call polls with intent. So they ask a question where whatever the answer is, they know that person has a need for what they do, right? So imagine that my target CFOs, for example, that's my ideal client profile, and I've done a poll that says, hey, attention CFOs, when are you likely to make your next hire? Would it be 0 to 30 days, 30 to 90 days, or 90 days or longer, right? And I got votes based on that. I'll get less votes than what's your favorite of ice cream, but everyone that votes, I can actually do something with that information. Again, someone check in, does that make sense? It's a very important point here. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in a chat box, right? I'm posting polls where I can actually do something with the information. I'm not bothered about whether I get 1 vote or 100 votes. Obviously, 100 ideally, but you know, I'm acknowledging that I'm going to get less votes because it's a poll with intent, right? So someone votes and says, yeah, I'm hiring the next 30 to 90 days. I'm going to message them again. Hey, we can probably help with that. Do you want to have a quick call? Again, this is what Dan's doing as well. So questions in the inbox, questions with polls. Also, again, although, yes, it's going to be unlikely that someone engages with your content. If they do, that's them showing you that they have a need for that thing, right? Again, check in, does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I just want to just recap on this because this is so important. So you've got the right audience. So I'll use it with a bit of bias here. My background was IT recruitment. So I want to be connecting to CTOs. That's the right audience. I want to post content that gives me authority. I'm then asking a CTO a question such as, what's the #1 challenge in your business right now? Is it lack of time to deliver IT projects on time? Is it perhaps not the right team in place to deliver the projects on time, or something to do with money? Because every hiring manager has a challenge around time, team, and money. So if you're asking questions around there. So I then post that in the poll. Their response will tell me they have a need for what I do. So I'm going to harvest the opportunities. They're the people I need to be communicating with. Can you see now how you can get meetings? And bear in mind, a lot of these people, I could say complete strangers, you've never spoken to before. That's a point, probably a better way of putting it. They will know who you are, but you've never spoken to them before. If you think about our relationship, here you are on this webinar with Drew and I. Most of you here will know who we are, although we've never spoken, because you've been through this process. You've seen our content. We've invited you to connect. We've made that connection. We've done numerous polls. We've posted numerous videos. And again, think about it. If your hiring manager is going to be spending, I would say anything above £5,000, dollars, or whatever, they're not going to do that with a complete stranger. They need to know, like, and trust you. You need to have your audience and have that authority with your audience. Back to you, Drew.
Okay, so the opportunity is questions and consistency, right? So again, you could do a poll today, or you could send a message out today. You can message 100 people a day, right, on LinkedIn, roughly there or thereabouts, depending on the limits on your individual account, how often you use it. There's quite a lot of volume you can do there, right? We could ask 100 people every single day. This is what Dan does. So in fact, I think he sends out 80 messages a day and ask them a question that in some way is going to get them to indicate a need. So again, it could be, again, if you want the exact questions that Dan uses, we'll give the video at the end where he talks through his exact messaging. But for your market, it's going to be different anyway, right? But it could be, hey, Drew, do you have any vacancies at the moment? Hey, Drew, if we could find the top performing recruitment consultant in your sector, would you be interested in the conversation about it? Hey, Terry, we have this type of candidate on in our database. Do you have any need for those at the moment? Hey, Terry, are you still looking for CEOs, whatever, right? There's lots of questions we can ask to get someone to indicate they have an opportunity in their inbox. And obviously with the polls, it's even easier. Again, the best thing about the polls is they're anonymous, as in like you can see who voted, but their connections won't see that they voted on your poll, right? So then they're not exposing themselves as they would be if they commented or engaged in another piece of content, right? So it's great, right? So you could ask in your poll, you know, as Terry said, what's the biggest challenge you have right now? Is it increasing revenue? Is it increasing profit? Is it team performance, right? Again, they vote, we're gonna message them, hey, you said your problem was team performance, you said a problem with revenue. We might be able to help that. You're open to a conversation, right? Again, we're consistently asking questions, right? And we do it consistently. Oh, let me rub that out. Is the point, right? So sometimes the answer's going to be no, right? As with the same with a cold call, but we need to make sure we're following up those people. So what Dan's doing is every 12 weeks or so, he's re-hitting them again with a question. The content and the polls are consistent, but then he's re-hitting them again with a question if they haven't engaged with the poll. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. I want to quickly show you a poll of intent, right? Just to make sure I'm making sense, right? So we done one this week. Terry, see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. What, this LinkedIn, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So we done one this week where we said, you know, it was literally about this training, and we said, hey, look, one of our, you know, want to hear how a recruitment business owner uses LinkedIn to book 45 meetings with interested hiring managers per month, right? There it is. And he said, look, do you want the, you know, send me the live link. Some of you would have been here off the back of that, or do you want the audio, right? So we know that anyone that says those things, we can now message them and say, hey, you said you was interested in this LinkedIn training. If we can show you a way to do this, would you be able to do a call about it, right? Again, transferring into your business. So there's lots of ways to harvest opportunities off your LinkedIn profile. The big problem is, you know, most recruiters don't really tap into it, right? So again, just to recap, connect with your ICP, your ideal client audience, build authority with those people, and then harvest the opportunities, right? Again, so
there's a question here. Sorry, Joe. I was going to say, there's a question here from Emma. When they answer the poll question, I assume we add values to offer something first, then set up a meeting. Obvious question. Oh, yeah. So
it depends, right? It depends what the poll question is. Everyone on your LinkedIn, if you're following a 3-step process, everyone on your LinkedIn profile would have already had some value, right? Because you've done that as part of the 3-step process. So we don't necessarily need to. You've already given them that. But if with this poll, I'm offering the value, right? That is the offer. That is the question I'm asking. Like, you know, are you interested in this recording, right? So I'd first send the recording, and then I'd say, hey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions to see if I can help further, right? So that's how I transition there. But sometimes, you know, we've done polls where we say, hey, are you looking for more clients at the moment? Or are you looking to grow your recruitment business? Yes or no? Obviously, no's we ignore, but if it's a yes, we're going to drop you a message. Hey, Emma, you said you were interested in growing your recruitment business. We might be able to help with that. Open to a call, right? So it really depends on what the poll question is. But the important thing is that you are asking questions. For anyone that's found this useful and you want to know more, you want to know the exact messages that Dan's using, and also you want to add that interview. If you go to makemoreplacements.com/start, that's makemoreplacements.com/start. There's a short sort of survey to fill in, just to find out where your business is at, what market you're in, things like that, so we can make sure we create custom messages for you and your market. What that will then do is you'll book a call with one of our specialists. They have a 15-minute conversation with you. What they'll do is they'll send you this recording before the meeting as well. This is Dan's recording of how he booked the meeting. It's on YouTube, but the link's private, so you won't be able to search for it or anything. You can only get access to it if we give you the access link. But he literally goes through the exact scripts he's using, the exact poll questions he's using, the exact follow-up process up there. So it's a really, really powerful interview, one that we normally only give away to our clients, but we're giving it away to anyone who's on this training today. So that's makemoreplacements.com/start. Or if you listen to the recording of this, there'll be a button beneath this video that you can click as well, but that's makemoreplacements.com/start.
You go to this link and book a call with one of our teams. They'll ask you a few questions. You also get the recording as well. Goes without saying, there's no cost, there's no obligation. So go to makemoreplacements.com/start. So please copy and paste that link and put it into your search bar, browser.
Can I just check in with everyone? Have you found this useful today? Just give me a yes or no in the chat box. Let me know if you've got any questions as well. Awesome. So Caleb said, oh yeah, good question, Caleb. Caleb said, very useful.
Yeah, good question.
What tools are you using, right? So he uses no automation to do this. No automation to do this. We do have clients that use automation. Dan doesn't. It takes him 60 minutes per day. 45, 60 minutes per day to do this. He uses no automation. We have clients that do use automation. They're doing it at bigger scale. So normally they've got teams when doing that. With Dan, is a solo recruiter. Doesn't really need it. We do a similar process. We don't use automation either. But you can use automation if you want. The problem with automation is, not a problem with automation. One of the things that makes this process work so well is how quick you are to respond, right? The problem with automation is when you set it up and you start using it, it does the outbound stuff, right? It does a trigger event, if you like. But when you get a reply from a hiring manager, your ability to book them in is going to be how quick you can respond to their message, right? Because recruiters spend all day on LinkedIn. Most hiring managers don't. So you need to be able to respond when they're on the platform, right? So sometimes it's better to have a human doing it for that reason. But yeah, as Caleb said, it can come across very personal, very robotic also, and impersonal. But saying that, I think everyone on LinkedIn is sort of suspicious of that anyway, whether you're using automation. Like, there's the amount of times I've been speaking to someone on LinkedIn and they think it's automation. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's a real person. But I think because so many people use it, people are sort of skeptical of that anyway. But saying that, it doesn't stop people booking in, even when they think it's a robot. If you're providing them value and you build authority on your profile.
I just want to thank you all for joining us today. Our sole aim is to help you generate more leads, make more placements, and always get paid for the work that you do. We just think that's only fair. So if that's something you want to do, please go to that link. We'll see if we can help you any more. Thanks, Caleb. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining us today. We do this on a regular basis. And so until next time, folks, take care, take action, be relentless.